Good afternoon, ma'am. So this is going to be my presentation for the activity 5 where we have to make a light student directory. So here, this is my output. So here we have the student list, student counter, and then we have the register form. So it's just a slightly edited version of the one I had in the previous activity. So let me showcase some of the features. So here I removed the password for student course. So it's just a simple drop down, similar to the previous one. So if we put in a name that's already been registered, so this name has already been taken. So Mark Simmons, which is the second entry. I added another functionality where if there is a numeric value, it will say do not add, just do not include non-alphabetic characters in your name. So it will strictly only take only strictly take alphabetical inputs. So here we have Grace Howard. So if we were to save that as computer engineering register, you see that it gets added to the list and then the counter goes up. So if I were to delete one student, so Mark Simmons, and let's say I were to re-add him. So the way it works is that the IDs will not go on. Once students deleted, the IDs will just keep going up and up. So it will not fill in any new numbers. And then as you can see, the student counter still retains the correct number of students regardless of ID number. So that's pretty much it. One final functionality, if we're to delete all of the students, we have this new student list, and then we can simply add another user, and then we'll go back up. So let's proceed to the code. So here we have the student app, and then we have the register form. So since register form is just modified from the previous activity, I'll quickly go through that. So now register form, we pass in two props. This is the student list itself, and then this is an add function. So that is the add student functionality that is passed in from the app, since this is the child element. So here, pretty much the same. We just have this block of code for the drop down. Here we have the on change for verification. We still have submit verification. So here, so student name verification, we still have the one that checks for if it's empty or uh if the user length is above 5, and then the border changing just to show that the input is different. We added two new functionalities. Here we see if there's a name has already been taken by the system, and then we have uh a error check to check for non-alphabetic function. So for the taken name, simply we have student list. So the list of students, we map out each student entry, and then we have objects that value. So since since it's a nested list, so it counts each entry as an object. So within each object, which is student, we see if any of the values of those object, since it's a key value pair, if any of the values contain the user input, which we define here. So if it so eventually this will create a list of different of each entry, and a list of and in that list are objects that contain either a true or a false value, since this includes function will return a true or false value. And we basically use this list in this if condition. So here we have object values that take a name. So since this is a list with different objects, we use this function to navigate it, and then we use the same includes to see if any of the entries have the true boolean. Because if it's true, then that means that one of the entries does have the same name as the input, which is this user input. And if it is true, we simply give out the has been taken, and then we reset the user input bar in the menu itself. And then the next one is we have this regex, so regular expression. So using the cheat sheet, essentially we are using this syntax to create a series of valid characters. So with this syntax, we are essentially have this a to z and then slash s. So essentially, what this means is that this means that we are checking for characters that are not within this range, and then what this range essentially means is we're checking for any uppercase, lowercase, or white space, uppercase, lowercase letters, and then white spaces. So essentially, anything that is not a alphabetic alpha not alphanumeric alphabetic term, basically. So so with this range, we simply put dot test, so it will essentially take in an input, which is the user input, and it will see if the user input has gone the user input if the user input's characters are all of them are within this range of characters. So this will once again give out a boolean. So we use this as another check here just to check for non-alphabetic characters, and that's pretty much it. And then for submit verification, it's similar. So we just have it so that just in case if the user still tries to put in invalid text, we will just simply give out a error, and then we won't let the information go in. But if it is all verified and the input is actually correct, we have here the else statement, which will use the add func. So that is the add function that was added in by the parent. And here we're basically passing the student name and the student course, which we just get using a get element ID from the forum. So moving on to app. So in the main app here we have a use state for the list of students, and then we have a default value just so we have some preliminary data. We have the count. This is just for the ID, and then this is the add student function that we add. We pass through the reg form, and then we have delete student. So to quickly explain each function, here what we're doing is that for set count, simply we change count to count plus one. Simple enough. So it just increments. For set student, it's a little bit more different. So essentially, here we are turning the previous student that we're taking the previous state of the student uh, list, and then we are transforming it into this. So what this is we take the previous information, so student, and then the dot dot is an operator to essentially split the contents of this list, and then kind of just like lay them out essentially. So this would just be an array filled with the different objects within the students list, and we have that with this new we have that with this new entry. So this is the new entry that we add here and we basically add in student name and the student course. So essentially we are basically just creating a new list to replace the new students. So this is a way to retain the old information, and this right here is the new entry that we'll be adding onto that list. So for set students or for delete students, what we're doing is we're first taking an index. So the index is the way we basically find which entry to delete within the list. So what we do is we have student.filter. So filter, essentially what it does, it basically takes all of the student information. Basically takes all of the entries within a list minus the ones that don't meet the filter. So in order to pass on that filter, we need a function for JavaScript. So here, instead of actually having a function, we just have a arrow function to have it more inline. So here we have an underscore. So the underscore, you don't really have to worry about it, that we're not really using it, but essentially what it is, it's the item itself. So we're not really using it for the condition, so it's just an underscore. And then the next one in the syntax is the index. And so we're using the index to essentially compare it with the index that is passed by the function, and we create the we create the condition, or in this case we're returning the condition since it's a function, of if the I, or the index of the students list that we are traversing through, is not equal to the index that is passed by the function. So essentially what we're doing is that we're essentially just removing a specific entry within the student index using this filter and this specific condition. So moving on to this. So this is just the display. So here we have the counter, we have the student block, we have the list, and here we have a ternary operator. So if student length is larger than 0, yeah, if student list is larger than 0, so essentially we're checking if the list is empty, we display this. So this is the regular display. So we have student.map, so it will iterate through the entire list, and then we take in the object itself and then the index, and then we'll simply display and then add the different buttons for each student. And if that's not the case, which signified by the semicolon, so this is the else statement, we'll just have this div that shows no students are in the list. And that's it. That's pretty much it for Miko.